The sprawling glass mansion of Alexander Knight shimmered under the late morning sun, standing like a monument of wealth and power in the heart of the city's most exclusive district. To the outside world, Alexander was the perfect picture of success, an enigmatic millionaire whose name was often whispered with admiration in the business world. His empire stretched across industries, from finance to technology, and his presence in the media painted him as a man who had everything a person could ever dream of. Yet behind the massive walls of his luxurious home, there existed a silence, a loneliness, and a truth very few knew. His only daughter, Lily, a 7-year-old with special needs, was the beating heart of his life, and the very reason he woke up every morning to fight the battles of his empire. Lily was born with Down syndrome, and though she radiated a purity and joy that warmed Alexander's soul, her presence was often met with hushed pity or cruel whispers from the world outside. For Alexander, she was perfect, his angel, his reason. But for others, she was sometimes seen as a flaw in his otherwise spotless image of power. That was why he guarded her so fiercely, keeping her shielded from society's cruelty and surrounding her only with those he trusted most. Among those few was Maria Alvarez, the maid who had been working in his household for just under a year. Maria was not just an ordinary maid, though she had applied for the job humbly and accepted it with gratitude. Her heart carried a strength forged by hardship. She was a woman who had known poverty, discrimination, and the sting of being treated as invisible by those who saw only wealth and status. Yet she had never let those experiences harden her spirit. Her compassion was her armor, and her empathy her greatest weapon. From the very first day she met Lily, she felt an instant connection, as if the child's innocence had unlocked something maternal in her heart. Maria became more than just a worker in that household. She became a quiet guardian, a gentle protector, a friend in a world where Lily's father was often too consumed by endless boardroom wars. That morning, the air inside the mansion was tense. Alexander had flown back from a week-long trip in Europe, where he had been finalizing a merger worth billions. His arrival should have brought joy, but instead, it collided with the growing storm between his new partner, Veronica Hayes, and the unseen truth that was about to unfold. Veronica was a woman of ambition, the kind of person who smiled in public but sharpened knives behind closed doors. She had been dating Alexander for 6 months, and though she was breathtakingly beautiful and carried herself with the elegance of high society, her heart was driven less by love and more by the hunger for power and status. To Veronica, Lily was an inconvenience. A complication in the perfect image she imagined for herself as the future wife of a millionaire. Though she hid her disdain behind polite smiles when Alexander was around, her true feelings often slipped when it was just her and Maria in the house. Maria had endured the cold remarks, the veiled insults, the cruel tone Veronica often used when addressing her. She had learned to stay quiet, to hold her tongue, because she needed the job, and more importantly, because she needed to protect Lily. But on this particular morning, Veronica's cruelty crossed a line that Maria could no longer ignore. It began innocently enough. Maria was cleaning the living room while Lily sat on the carpet nearby, coloring with her crayons. The soft hum of Lily's laughter filled the air as she scribbled messy rainbows on the pages of her sketchbook. Maria glanced at her every few moments, smiling as the little girl's tongue poked out in concentration. To Maria, moments like these were precious, a reminder that happiness was found in simplicity. But then Veronica's voice cut through the peace like a blade. "Why is she always in the middle of everything?" Veronica muttered sharply, stepping into the room in her pristine white dress and high heels clicking against the polished marble. She looked at Lily not with affection, but with irritation. "Can't she play somewhere else? This is supposed to be a living room, not a daycare." Maria straightened, her yellow gloves still wet from cleaning solution. "She's just drawing, ma'am. She's not in the way." Veronica's eyes narrowed. "Don't talk back to me. I don't need the opinion of a maid." Then she took a step closer to Lily, her tone dripping with disdain. "You're too old to be sitting on the floor like that. Get up. Go to your room." Lily looked up, her eyes wide and confused, the crayon slipping from her small fingers. She wasn't used to harsh voices. Maria's heart clenched at the sight, and before she could stop herself, she knelt down and wrapped her arms protectively around the child. "It's okay, Lily," she whispered softly, shielding her from Veronica's glare. That small act of protection was enough to ignite Veronica's rage. She stormed forward, pointing a finger at Maria, her voice rising. "Don't you dare touch her. Do you hear me?" She's not your child. You're here to clean floors, not to play mother. Maria's grip around Lily tightened instinctively, her eyes meeting Veronica's with a calm but firm defiance. I would never let anyone speak to her that way. She's a child. She deserves kindness, not cruelty. For a brief second, silence fell in the room, thick and heavy, as Veronica's face twisted with fury. She was about to unleash another round of venom when an unexpected voice broke the stillness. What's going on here? The sound was deep, commanding, and familiar. Alexander Knight stood at the doorway, his sharp suit pressed to perfection, his presence filling the room like thunder. His piercing eyes shifted from Veronica's accusatory finger to Maria's protective embrace of his daughter. And then finally to Lily's trembling expression. Time seemed to freeze as the weight of the moment settled over them all. Alexander had seen many things in his life, betrayal in boardrooms, backstabbing in negotiations, rivals trying to crush him, but nothing could prepare him for the sight of his maid shielding his daughter from the woman he thought he could trust. His chest tightened, and in that instant, the polished world Veronica had carefully built around him began to crack. Maria rose slowly, still holding Lily close, her voice trembling but resolute. Mr. Knight, I'm sorry if this seems out of place, but she was frightened. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. Veronica turned quickly, her face shifting to false innocence as she reached for Alexander's arm. Darling, you have no idea, this woman has been overstepping boundaries since the day she arrived. She's trying to act like Lily's mother when she's nothing but the help. Alexander's gaze hardened, his jaw tightening as he studied both women. Maria stood silently, her eyes filled not with fear but with honesty, while Veronica's polished words carried the poison of manipulation. For the first time, Alexander saw what had been hiding in plain sight, the difference between genuine love and shallow ambition. He knelt down beside Lily, brushing her hair gently with his hand, his voice softening as he asked, "Are you okay, princess?" Lily nodded slowly, her arms still clinging tightly to Maria's uniform. The sight struck Alexander like a blow. His daughter didn't reach for Veronica, didn't seek comfort in the woman he had been considering as his future wife. Instead, she clung to the maid, the woman who had nothing to gain but still gave everything of herself. A storm brewed inside Alexander's mind, questions crashing against each other. Had he been so blinded by appearances that he had failed to see the truth of what was happening in his own home? How much had Lily endured in silence when he was away chasing deals and fortune? As the weight of those thoughts bore down on him, his eyes lifted once more to Maria. He saw the determination in her stance, the quiet fire in her gaze, the way she shielded his daughter without hesitation. In that instant, something shifted within him, something he couldn't yet name but would soon come to understand. It was the beginning of a revelation that would change all of their lives forever.